Hi, I'm Jake Burns, and I've just popped up to do a little video thing as a thank you to the National Health Service for helping everybody get through these remarkably dark days that we're living through at the moment. I'm just going to play a couple of songs and answer some questions that people have been kind enough to send in. And in fact, there was one here. Where are we? It's in here somewhere. And it's to do with the first song I'm going to play, and it's from Stuart Ronald, and he asks if I knew the positive impact that the song My Dark Places was going to have on the number of people that are suffering from mental health issues. See, I just touched my face there. You're not supposed to do that. See, that was not a good thing to do. Anyway, no, I didn't. I basically wrote the song for myself because I suffer from depression myself, and it was I wrote it more as just an aid memoir, as they say, just to remind myself that there was light at the end of the tunnel, and that was why I wrote the song. I didn't actually write it expecting anybody to hear it. I originally didn't want to record the song, but the rest of the band were very keen to do so, and I'm glad we did. Mainly because, as Stuart's pointed out, a lot of people have actually said that the song helped them. So, with that in mind, this is the song. This is a song called My Dark Places. Well, it cuts just like a knife, takes away your love of life, puts out your fire and leaves you in the ashes. You lay there in a hole, what you love now leaves you cold. It's hard to get the strength to face the morning. Some days you really feel like hiding. Some days you swear you'll never go out anymore. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to my dark places. Well, the days glide slowly by. All you want to do is cry. Nothing makes sense, nothing has a reason. And you lay there in a hole. What you love now leaves you cold. It's hard to get the strength to face the morning. Some days you really feel like screaming. Some days you swear you'll never smile anymore. And I'm not going back. I'm not going back to my dark places. It's something they can't see, yet it seems so real to me. Can't explain just how I feel when what I feel is no emotion. It's not a tragedy, yet that's how it seems to me. I wish that you could see, or even for a minute be me. Well, I got there in the end with the help of many friends, some who help by simply just believing. And the days look brighter now, and I know someday somehow I could end up back there in an instant. Some days I really feel like laughing. Some days I realize I must stay on my guard, and I'm not going back. I'm not going back to my dark places. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to my dark places. Right then, I'll get round to answering some of these questions. Let's see what we got. First one is from somebody called John Birch. I'm not sure where you are, John, because I wasn't given that information. So anyway, John asks, when you did the HMV in-store DVD signing in 2007, Was the live show ever recorded? It was the most intense SLF gig I ever attended, and the atmosphere was electric in such a small venue. Well, blimey. First of all, I'm not sure which HMV stores. We did do a bunch of them, but probably the one in London, the one in Oxford Street, I think. Or was that a Virgin? Oh. Anyway, really, electric, honestly. Okay, no, it wasn't actually recorded, and that's kind of bizarre that the best gig you ever saw us do was in a shop. But you know, it just shows we don't muck about. Get on a stage. We're there to do it, whether it's in a shop or, you know, at the Barrowland or whatever. But anyway, sorry, we didn't record it. Okay. Next question. Adrian Clark asks, have I and Henry ever met since he parted ways from the band? Yes, we have. We've met a few times. He happened to be passing through Chicago on one occasion, and we met up and had a couple of drinks. Well, I had a couple of drinks. Henry doesn't drink, so but we spent an afternoon in a pub. So I'm doing it again. I keep touching my face. You know, it turns out that's everybody's favourite pastime. Nobody knew. So yeah, and you know, he's popped up at a couple of shows. We've been on the same bill a couple of times. We met each other. I think last time we actually saw one another was at Rebellion a few years back in Blackpool. So yes, we have seen each other. Right, Colin Vanucci asks, do I think I'll ever come home to Northern Ireland to live when I eventually hang up the guitar? Never say never. I mean, you can see behind me, I've still got memories of home no matter where I am. It's one of the strange things. I mean, I left Northern Ireland when I was 20 years old. I'm 62 now, so you know, I've lived most of my life away from the place, but you know, like I think for most people, wherever you're born and your formative years it's always home, no matter where you've lived. I mean, I've lived in London, I've lived in Newcastle, and I've been in Chicago now for the past 15 and a half years. So, you know, but yeah, there is something special about Northern Ireland. It's like I said, it's the place that made you, you know. Whether I'd ever go back and live there, like I said, never say never, but at the moment, you know, America's my home. It's where I've lived for a long time, and I don't see another move outside the country, I don't think, in my future. But like I said, you never know. You never know. Hang on a second. Right, what else we got? Hayden Wrigley asks, do we have any unreleased tracks or demos, or have we literally recorded everything you've ever written? We've recorded everything we've written. I think there are one or two songs from way back in the day, and there was a Henry song that was recorded for the first album that didn't make the cut. But I don't think there's been anything since then. There might have been, but I don't think there has. Racking my brains trying to think. No, I can't think of anything. I mean, the only things we haven't recorded are sort of the brand new songs. And Hayden goes on to ask, are we going to release 16 Shots, which we've been playing for a couple of tours recently. Yes, I mean, eventually the idea is to record another Stiff Little Fingers album at some point. I know I'm not the most prolific songwriter in the world. Used to be, but that's one of the reasons we don't have any unreleased materials, because literally everything we wrote back in the day was put out because we were on such a tight schedule. I mean, those were the days of you know, album tour, and that was, you know, we were on that same treadmill as every other band, really. So yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, there's something to be said for that, in so much as it forces you to work. But equally, you know, I think looking at our output, there are a number of songs that I don't think would have made the cut if we'd had the luxury of being able to spend a bit more time, you know, between albums. But yes, 16 Shots, along with the other songs that we have been playing, like the likes of Tilting at Windmills and Hate Has No Home Here. Those, I think there are a couple of others kicking around that haven't gotten as far as those three yet. But yes, the idea is at some point to record another album. Right, going on. Craig Wilson, do you think Rudy were an underrated punk band from Ireland? Yeah, I do. They had some great songs. The thing about all the bands that we saw and we knew growing up in Belfast at the time, and the people we interacted with, I mean, bands like Rudy, who we were probably closest to, we probably saw them the most, and the Outcasts as well. The Undertones we didn't really come into contact with because they, I mean, I'm just talking about the three main Belfast bands that we knew. And like all of us, I mean, Rudy had some really good songs, but also like the Outcasts and like ourselves, we were all very rudimentary musicians. We were very basic, and we all got by on enthusiasm rather than actual sort of musical ability. And I think that a lot of those bands, I think because the spotlight got turned on us very quickly, John Peel, God bless him, picked up on our first record, and then he picked up on Teenage Kicks. And I think suddenly it was almost like record labels wanted to have a band from Northern Ireland on the label, and so as a consequence, which I think before the bands really had a chance to grow into themselves, there was a lot of interest and a lot of sort of spotlight put on these bands, and they just I don't think, ourselves included, I don't think we were really ready for that at that time. So I think that yes, Rudy were very much an underrated band, and I think it's a shame that they didn't get the breaks that they definitely did their songs deserved, because it would have been interesting to see what they'd have gone on to do. I mean, I know Brian is doing Saberjet stuff, and I think Ronnie is, the other guys have just kind of packed up playing all together, which is a shame. But all that stuff was a lifetime ago, really. Okay, what else have we got? Who would you make your all-star punk band to do a one-off gig with you? What you mean? Apart from the lads I normally work with. Wow, let's see. Well, it'll have to be people that I actually get on with, I suppose, in the main. So, I mean, of all the, like I said, I'm making an exception for the guys in the band because I really wouldn't want to replace any of them. Just simply because apart from the fact we are all friends, I genuinely do admire them all as musicians. So, but leaving that to one side, on drums, I'd probably want Mr. Ruffy, Dave Ruffy from the Ruts. Not just for his playing is phenomenal, but he's the only drummer I can think of I could watch play drums all day. I mean, he just makes the whole thing look so effortless. It's fantastic. Just to stand at the side of a stage and watch Ruffy play is it's an entertainment in itself. Bass guitar, I'd have to go for Mr. Burnell. I'd go for JJ. Again, the minute you hear one note played by the guy, it couldn't be anybody else. So that to me is the mark of a great player. That the minute you hear the one note, it couldn't be anybody else. And in terms of both of these guys, they are good friends of mine, and I think there'll be a lot of fun to be had playing with them. Would I want a second guitar or a keyboard? That's a thing. I mean, I've worked with second guitar all the way through Stiff Little Fingers. And obviously there were various keyboard players in the big wheel time, and the keyboard thing is always a fun aspect. I don't know. The thing is, I'm such a basic guitar player. I guess I'd want somebody. Let's stick with second guitar, because let's stick with Stiff Little Fingers sort of style. I would want somebody that could be a bit more adventurous than me, I suppose. So, probably somebody like Mike Dimkich from Bad Religion, who's a ridiculously good guitar player. Or Brian Baker. Either of the Bad Religion guys would work remarkably well. And again, they're nice people, so I think it would be fun to do. It was an interesting question. Billy McShane asks, how gutting was it not to be able to play Barrowland on St. Patrick's Day? you know, you probably know the answer to that one yourself. It was horrible. It was horrible to cancel the whole tour, but everybody knows the reason why. I mean, it's the reason I'm doing this video now. Is I don't think anybody knew the extent of what was happening at the end of it. It was just mass confusion at that point. It felt like, I mean, cancelling any show is always hard for anyone in a band. But to cancel a whole tour was, you know, unprecedented. But then the situation was unprecedented. And, you know, we felt at the time that we weren't being given. We tried to wait and see what sort of direction we were going to be given by the government and by the health authorities and stuff. And, you know, I'm assuming that the health authorities' hands were tied, but either way, we didn't get any clear direction from the government. And at that point, it just seemed like it would be foolish to carry on. It seemed like it wasn't in anybody's best interest. So it was a decision that we just had to make. But yes, it was very, very disappointing. And, you know, now we're like halfway through, or a third of the way through April when I'm recording this, and we still don't see any end in sight. As things stand at the moment, we've got the Barrowland show organised for August the 1st, and I'm still hopeful that can go ahead. But at the moment, all these things are up in the air. So it was hugely disappointing at the time, and we just have to wait and see what happens in the future. But, you know, that room and that audience brings a special sort of magic anyway, so I'm sure it won't be too difficult to recreate St. Patrick's Day in August. I'm fairly sure that, you know, that'll happen. Gary Walker asks, there was a live album from Brixton Academy released many years ago called Fly the Flags. It was also going to be released on video, but that never happened. Is the footage still out there somewhere? Good damn question. I have no idea. Probably, but, you know, it'll be one of those things that'll turn up in somebody's garden shed in 50 years' time, and they go, who the hell are this lot? Sorry, Gary, I've got no idea, mate. Paul Garbett, what is your favourite song by another artist? Ooh, I mean, the one I always go to is White Man and Hammersmith Palais by The Clash, because it's kind of got everything. I mean, the lyric is phenomenal. The lyric is just out of this world. The actual tune itself is hypnotic. The power of the record is incredible. And I love the fact that it doesn't follow a verse, chorus, middle eight, chorus to the end structure like a lot of songs do. The actual structure of it doesn't make sense, and that's part of its magic, I think. I mean, people always talk about, you know, you can't catch lightning in a bottle. I think The Clash very much caught lightning in a bottle with that song. I think it's a fantastic piece of work. Kevin Rudd asks, how and where did you get your first guitar from? And did I consider playing another instrument? Actually, the only musical tuition I've ever had in my life was I had a couple of months worth of drum lessons when I was at school. I think that's more and more apparent in my guitar playing that's been the case. But yeah, the first guitar came from, probably like quite a few people, it came from Woolies, came from Woolworths. It was a thing called an audition guitar, which turned out now that they were actually a Japanese brand called Taisco, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Tisco, which according to the interweb are much sought after. God alone knows who by, because they were horrible things. I mean, the action on it was so high, you could use it to grate cheese with. It really wasn't much use as an instrument. But yeah, it was a Woolworths guitar. And I remember at the time going in with my dad, and he was like, so which one do you want? And they had two models. One had one pickup in the middle, and the other had like the standard sort of neck and bridge pickups. And I could see from his face that he was not enamored by this idea at all. Electric guitar was not something that he wanted in a tiny little, you know, 2 up 2 down in Belfast. And I thought, I best not push my luck here. And I think the 2 pickup model was something like £4 more expensive. So I thought, I'll go for the 1 pickup model. So I basically picked the worst of a bad bunch to start with. But you know, if nothing else, it sort of tightened up your it tightened up your finger pads pretty damn quickly, because it was like playing a cheese grater, like I said. Alison Miller asks, what are your best and worst memories from living in Newcastle? Not football related. Thanks for the caveat there, Alison. That actually lets me off the hook on a lot, because both the best and worst memories are indeed tied to the football club. But leaving them to one side, I don't actually have any bad memories at all of living in Newcastle. It is a wonderful city, and it's a wonderful place to live. I mean, it's got so much going for it. The people, first of all, are just wonderful people. Incredibly friendly, incredibly welcoming. I mean, I've been lucky. I've found that everywhere I've lived, the people are very friendly and welcoming. But the really magnificent thing about Newcastle is its location. I mean, it's a major city. It's a vibrant city. It's got everything that brings with it. But equally, if you drive 5 minutes in one direction, you've got some of the most stunning coastline in the country, and 5 minutes in the other direction, you've got some of the most stunning countryside in the country. So it really is, it's an idyllic place to live. It's a wonderful place to live. Probably my favourite thing about living there was, it was the first time in my life I lived somewhere that I could have a dog, and I'd always wanted to have a dog. And in fact, during my time there, I had two, and both bulldogs, wonderful animals, Gus and Wilf, they were called. And those are, I just really loved living in the place. I thought it was fantastic. Just last couple of questions then. Cass Frida Brown asks, not Cass Frida Brown, sorry Cass, it's Cass Frida, not Cass Frida Brown, because the question is brown or tomato sauce? Tomato sauce every time, for Pete's sake. But, I mean, there's a bottle of HP sauce in the cupboard over there that I think somebody gave me just because it had a picture of the Houses of Parliament on it, and they thought I might be homesick. Quite why for the Houses of Parliament, I don't know, but there you go. And the final question is from Marianne Halls, who wants to know, her husband actually wants to know why I changed from the Yamaha SG to the ASP I use now. Basically, I found that I was having trouble keeping the Yamaha in tune. I don't really know, that was probably down to my appalling playing. But I tried everything. I changed the machine heads on it, I had it set up and reset up, and it just didn't like to stay in tune. And the main attraction that the ESP held for me was it had a lock-in nut at the top of the neck, which meant it would stay in tune no matter how hard and ineptly I battered away at it. So those were that was the main reason. Then, of course, by the time I got it, the guitar technology, it's a very simple instrument, the guitar. There's not much to it. It's a plank of wood with wires, and that's it, really. But pickup technology had moved on so much that the guitar was just so much more responsive and so much more powerful, and got close to the sound that I had in my head. So from that point on, I've played ESPs and been remarkably happy with them. So that's the answer to that then, really. Alright, final song. I kind of got to play this one. It was a song that was originally written, most people know this story, but it was a song that was originally written to be given away with a fanzine. It was going to be a flexi disc for a fanzine. And the fanzine was called Alternative Ulster, which is where I took the title from. Luckily for us, Gavin Martin, who owned and ran the fanzine, didn't think much to the song, so we got to keep it. So thanks, Gavin, because giving it away would have been a bit foolish. So